Good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Tuesday, October the 14th, 2025, and the time now is 11:40 a.m. So, friends, I want to talk about Pakistan, and I want to talk specifically about the fact that Pakistan as a country, or the state, the government, and the Pakistani Prime Minister announcing or declaring in a press conference his nomination for Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. I'm going to repeat that again. The Prime Minister of Pakistan, in a peace conference, praised Donald Trump, calling Donald Trump a man of peace and a person, a man who the world needs as of now at this time, and nominating or renominating Donald Trump for the second time for the Nobel Peace Prize. So, friends, this relates to the fact that over the weekend, we saw the return of Israeli hostages by Hamas. Hamas released about 20 Israeli hostages, and there has been a ceasefire. Now, it is said that the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel is at its first stage. Of course, Donald Trump has announced that as of now, the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel is going through the second stage, or the second phase, if you will. Now, friends, it is interesting that Donald Trump, who over the past 2 or 3 days was expecting to win the Nobel Peace Prize. However, he did not win the Nobel Peace Prize. And as a result, Donald Trump, his White House, his administration, and several Republicans have been throwing fits. They've been angered by the fact that Donald Trump did not win the Nobel Peace Prize. And then the Prime Minister of Pakistan basically declaring his nomination for Donald Trump during a peace press conference with Donald Trump, the Prime Minister of Spain, and several heads of states, including the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. He stated that he respects Donald Trump and he believes that Donald Trump is a very reliable person. He is the man of the hour, the man of our time, and that Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, friends, to be honest, it seems to me as if what the Prime Minister of Pakistan was doing was just kissing the ass of Donald Trump. Basically, he was just on foolishness. Of course, we have to acknowledge Donald Trump if it was Donald Trump who basically made the peace process or the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas possible, then yes, by all means, Donald Trump should be given his flowers or his credit. However, what the Prime Minister of Pakistan demonstrated seems very suspicious. Now, friends, with all honesty, it is said that Donald Trump has ended about 8 wars all over the world. And he continues to stress, Donald Trump continues to stress the conflict between India and Pakistan and claim that he basically ended the conflict, preventing the conflict from becoming an all-out war, which could have led to a nuclear war. Now, India has said that Donald Trump had played no part in the negotiation, in the ceasefire and the cool down of tension between India and Pakistan. Of course, Pakistan is saying that Donald Trump played part in the ceasefire and the lessening of tension between India and Pakistan. Of course, Donald Trump has claimed credit for having solved the situation in the Congo, which the situation in the Congo persists. Now, friends, for the situation in Gaza, it has been very much tense for the past 2 years. And it is said that over the past 2 years, over 60,000 to 100,000 Palestinians have either died or are missing. Have been casualties. That has been the case. Of course, the situation in Gaza or in Palestine has been worse for the past 70 years or so. Now, whatever the case may be, I think by the Prime Minister of Pakistan nominating Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, I think perhaps it could be childish and too early to tell? That is because Donald Trump was one of those people who have done nothing but cheerleading the situation in Gaza, has been the leader who actually moved the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, a move that could also spark tension in the Middle East. Went about bombing 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, which led to Iran retaliation. Iran basically took out the nuclear materials ahead of the bombing. Let's assume that Iran hasn't done it. That could have been a catastrophe. Donald Trump have been bombing boats along the coast of Venezuela, propagating, his administration have been propagating conflict, war with Venezuela. So with all this, I think nominating Donald Trump for a peace prize, a Nobel Peace Prize, because he solved the situation in Gaza, or he basically have created a peace ceasefire deal between Israel and the Palestinian, Israel and Hamas, doesn't mean that Donald Trump should be given a Nobel Peace Prize, because this man is warmongering all over the world. And just because he promote one ceasefire in one location, that we are saying that he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, I think it is childish and it is just too early to tell. Now, friends, in terms of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, my question is, who benefits? Who have the advantage? Of the two, which entity, Israel or Hamas, does have the advantage? And I do believe Israel actually has the advantage. And this is because prior to this ceasefire, many prominent observers and commentators on international relations, politics, economics, and all the various fields of international relations have been saying that the hostages have been an asset for the Palestinians against, or an asset for Hamas against Israel. Basically, they've been a problem for Israel. As long as the hostages are in Hamas's control or in Hamas's hands, Netanyahu and Israel will be in a very dangerous or difficult situation. Because if Netanyahu and Israel go hard at Hamas or at Gaza, then these hostages could die. Now, friends, my question is, with the hostages being released, is it possible that we could see Israel begin to increase the tempo, basically bomb the heck out of Gaza, bomb the heck out of Hamas? Because in this case, Netanyahu and Israel doesn't have anything to lose. They cannot say that there are hostages who we have to free. As a result, we have to go light or easy on Hamas. I do believe, friends, perhaps we could begin to see the ceasefire cancel and the war continue, because in this case, Israel has nothing to lose. Netanyahu has nothing to lose. They freed the remainder of the hostages, about 20 or so hostages. Now they can continue to go all out on Hamas, on Gaza, on the Palestinians, and not worry about any blowback. Once again, they can do this without worrying about any blowback. And I'm talking about blowback resulting from the possibility of having Israeli hostages in Hamas's hands or control and them dying. As of now, what seems to be left over are the remains of those hostages who did not make it, those hostages who died in Hamas's captivity. Now, it is said that as part of the peace deal or the ceasefire negotiation, that Hamas is supposed to be returning the remains of the dead hostages. And I believe once that is the case, perhaps we could begin to see the continuation of the war in Gaza. Which, if that is the case, then what the Prime Minister of Pakistan did, declaring Donald Trump a peacemaker, a man of the hour, a man of our time, and a person who he believed to be deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize, is childish and too much. And it seems to me that the Prime Minister of Pakistan is doing nothing but basically kissing Trump's you know what.
Today is a one of the greatest days in contemporary history, because peace has been achieved after untiring efforts led by President Trump, who is genuinely a man of peace, who has relentlessly and untiringly worked throughout these months, day in and day out, to make this world a place to live with peace and prosperity. I would say that Pakistan had nominated President Donald Trump for Nobel Peace Prize for his outstanding, extraordinary contributions to first stop war between India and Pakistan and then achieve ceasefire along with his very wonderful team. And today, again, I would like to nominate this great president for Nobel Peace Prize, because I genuinely feel that he is the most genuine and most wonderful candidate for Peace Prize, because he has brought not only peace in South Asia, saved millions of people, their lives. And today, here in Sharm el-Sheikh, achieving peace in Gaza is saving millions of lives in the Middle East. Mr. President, I would like to salute you for your exemplary leadership, visionary leadership. And I think that you're the man this world needed most at this point in time. World would always remember you as a man who did everything, went out of the way to stop 7 and today 8 wars. I would like to thank my very dear brother, Sheikh Tamim. He's el-Sheikh, who has really worked very hard along with others to achieve peace in this region. My very dear brother, President Tayyip Erdogan, His Majesty, King Abdullah, and of course my very dear brother, Mohammed bin Zayed of UAE, and of course my very dear brother, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And he has also been very, very helpful and contributed very valuably in this wonderful peace process. Ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't want to take more of your time. Suffice it to say, had it not been for this gentleman, not only, who knows, India and Pakistan are both nuclear powers. Had he not intervened along with his wonderful team, during those 4 days, the war could have escalated to a level, who would have lived to tell what happened? And similarly, here in this part of the world, in the Middle East, Mr. President, your valuable contribution along with President Sisi, I think history will remember in golden words. I wouldn't say more, except God bless you, God give you long life to serve like this for all time to come. Thank you very much.
Now, friends, I really want to know what you think. Perhaps I may be wrong, perhaps I may be right. However, you can tell me what you think. Now, friends, if you're new to this channel, The Echoing Voice, or if you're watching my videos for the first time, I want you to know that every institution, every prominent institution or organization in the world, such as the African Union, the European Union, NATO, IMF, World Bank, and so on, does have at least one playlist on this channel. However, Every country in the world has at least two playlists on this channel. One is entitled or is titled the country's name, and the other domestic the country's name. And this is how it works. The country's name playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, or ideas that focus specifically on the country's geopolitical position, the country's interaction with countries and institutions in its region and around the world. In this case, we are talking about Pakistan. Therefore, the Pakistan playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, or ideas about Pakistan's interaction with India, countries in South Asia and Asia, and around the world, or Pakistan's interaction with the United States, Israel, Qatar, and so on and so on and so on. However, the country's name playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, or ideas about the country's domestic situation, such as economics, infrastructure, employment, development, childhood obesity, and every other things pertaining to the internal sovereignty or the internal situation within a country. In this case, we are talking about Pakistan. Therefore, the Pakistan playlist will feature videos, talks, programs, or ideas about the various things going on in Pakistan, such as academics or education, employment, youth and sports, agriculture, food security, and so on and so on and so on. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. But friends, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends. But most especially and most importantly, or most important, friends, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends. Peace.